We're going to spend this week on basic geometry type things where we're dealing with perimeter, area, volume, working word problems, and some real life examples using some basic geometry. So the textbook definition of geometry is that it is the branch of mathematics that describes points, lines, angles, and figures in space. Basically, if we're dealing with shapes, we're dealing with geometry. We're going to start this week with perimeter. Now here's the thing, a large portion of geometry uses formulas, and a formula is just a mathematical relationship or rule expressed in symbols. The thing about formulas is they're not going to change, and if you learn the formula and you know how to plug values in and solve, then you're going to be fine. Perimeter technically is the distance around a closed shape. If you've been around me very long and we've talked about perimeter, basically I'm going to tell you add all the outside edges. Now, there are formulas for perimeter. The formula for perimeter is P equals 2L plus 2W. Basically what the perimeter is saying is if you do 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, that's going to give you your perimeter. And a lot of formulas are written in script or italics, and so we will be doing it the way that you'll see it in other textbooks a lot. So sorry, I had to yawn. My computer font, I can't find like a cursive-y one. This is as close as I could get. Now here's the thing, we're not going to use a perimeter formula. I don't like having to learn 4 or 5 different ways to do something when I can learn one way that's always going to work. And the deal is, perimeter is adding up all the outside edges. So don't worry about learning any formulas. If you see a shape and you're asked to find the perimeter, just add the outside edges. A lot of our problems are going to be, especially dealing with a perimeter right now, are going to be word problem type problems. We already know that perimeter is adding all the outside edges. So how would that be an important thing that we would need to know? So here's a word problem. It says, we need to know how much wood we need to purchase for a rectangular garden bed. The length of the bed will be 8 feet long and the width will be 3.25 feet. So I'm going to draw a little picture of my garden bed. Go. The length is going to be 8 feet. The width is going to be 3.25 feet. And I just need to know how much wood to purchase, which means I need to know how far around. And all I have to do, because it's perimeter, is understand if it's a rectangular thing, if one length is 8 feet, the other is 8. If one width is 3.25, the other one is. And now we just added up 3.25 plus 8 plus 3.25 plus 8. And I got 22.5. I'm going to add that one more time just to be sure because I didn't check it before we started. Yes, 22.5, and it's going to be feet. And because it is perimeter, the measurement is just feet. When you go into area, it becomes feet squared. When you go into volume, it becomes feet cubed. But perimeter, you just add your outside edges. All right. Other times you're going to have to sort of think about this before you just start adding numbers. So this word problem says the perimeter of a rectangle is 42 inches. If the width is 8, what is the length? So let's start by drawing a picture. Some of you may not need to draw a picture, but I have to because I can't visualize anything. All right, I know the width is 8. I'm going to find the length. Those are going to match. What I know is length. The truth is, you don't even really need all of that. So here's what I would do. Because I am algebraic, I would write out this equation and I would solve for x. However, most of you can probably just say, okay, the perimeter is 42. I have 8 here and I have 8 here. So I'm going to subtract 16 because 8 and 8 is 16. 42 minus 16 is 26. I have 2 x's But I have to add up to 26. So if I divide that by 2, I have 13. So the length is 13. If you set up the equation and solve it, you'll still get to 13. Some of these word problems, you're going to have to just sort of stop and think logically and think backwards, and hopefully that didn't confuse you more than necessary. Then you may have something like this. The length of a side of a hexagon is 2 inches. What is the perimeter? Well, you're going to have to either Google hexagon if you don't know what it is, or just sort of stop and think and reach back into your brain somewhere. A hexagon has 6 sides. If I know that the shape is a 6-sided shape, every side is 2 inches, I can multiply 6 times 2, and my perimeter then is 12 inches. So some of these you're going to have to just stop and think. Just remember you have to add up all of your sides. Now I will say, if you have, you won't for this homework, but later if you have shapes, something like this, and you have this is 7, this is 10, this is 5, and this is 3, make sure you have all of your sides before you start adding. So we would need to find that side, and we would need to find that side before you add. This lesson on perimeter is all word problems, so it's on easytestmaker.com, I think is what it is. The link is where this was. Add all your outside edges. Sometimes you have to stop and think and figure out how to process through the information given to get to your answer. And remember to put your measurements on. So in this case, it's 12 inches. If you're working with feet, 12 feet. Also pay attention, because if it tells you the length is 32 inches and the width is 1 foot, make sure that your measurements are the same type. So change, in this case, we would have to change 1 foot to 12 inches. They need to match. I can't really add feet and inches, okay? So you need to make sure you have them in the same format before you add. I don't think there's very many of those. Just pay attention to everything in these word problems and do your best. Take your online test, and that's it for this one.